Welcome to our Journey to Joy podcast today, and I am so excited to introduce you to Joe Rivera. And I love that I don't know very much about Joe either. So you get to learn about Joe just as I get to learn about Joe. I know a snippet about his story, but it was enough for me to realize and see in his face that he has this amazing journey to joy that he's experienced. And I wanted him to be able to share that with you. And then he also has a book coming out that he gets to share as well. So anyway, welcome, Joe.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited for being here.
Yes. Okay, so just tell us. So first I'm going to say where I met you. It's always fun. Like how did we meet? So I was introduced to you at a personal development conference that we were just at about a month ago. And we started talking to support each other because we were on a similar journey, different journeys, similar trajectory for making impact in the world and improving everybody else's lives, right? Through sharing our stories and helping other people. And so that's where I met Joe. And, right away I was like, yes, like I love your story and I loved your energy. And it was a week later, I think you reached out and said, hey, like, let's chat a little bit. And I thought and then I got to learn more about you.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yes, you need to be on the podcast because people need to hear your story. And it's going to be so helpful, influential, and such a different angle than what I've experienced. So I'm excited to share that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. So I went from Park Avenue to Park Bench. I lost everything. I even almost lost my life. I had my dream job in the financial industry as a stockbroker. In the early 2000s, I'm 25 years old, making 7 figures a year.
Wow.
I should feel like I'm on top of the world at this point. But 7 figures a year? Nah, that ain't good enough. Because I live in a world with a belief system of never enough. I want more. I want 8 figures or 9 figures. I'm chasing that fast life. And at this point in my life, being spiritually bankrupt, money's the only higher power that I know. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make more money. I'm putting in late nights at the office one evening, and this dude, we call him Johnny Connect. We call him that because he had the connections to get his hands on anything you can imagine. And keep in mind, we're in New York. So this dude swears that he's part of the mafia. He sits down at my desk and he says, hey, Joe, you think you're a top producer now? Take this little round pill and forget about it. You're going to produce even more. Wall Street is also known as Drug Street. And everybody's doing some kind of drug. I'm already smoking weed, drinking, or having some kind of mind-altering substance in my body every single day for the past 15 years at this point.
Wow.
So I said, why not? And that's when I got introduced to opiates. And that's when my battle with substance abuse took off to the next level. My
Where
life
did that-
goes...
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say my life goes dark and becomes completely unmanageable. My mom passed away and life went completely upside down. I was risking my life every single day. I overdosed twice. The last time, it took 6 cans of Narcan to bring me back to life.
Wow.
6 freaking cans of Narcan. And that same night, I'm laying in the hospital bed. I wake up. I pull the EKG electrodes off my body. Leave the hospital against medical advice. And then when I get outside, Lisa, it's the middle of winter. I'm in a hospital gown. And I'm shivering, looking like a crackhead like Pookie from New Jack City because of all the opiates that were being taken out of my system. And the first thing that I do, I go call the dealer again to go get high. A week or two later, my sister invited me for an event. And at that event, I don't remember exactly what it was, but something cracked open. And I looked at my sister, she looked at me, and we both started crying. She knew exactly what I was going to say. And then the words came out. The words my family was waiting to hear for over a decade. I said, I don't want to do this anymore, sis. I'm a shell of my true self. I'm tired of writing my obituary. I wanted to begin creating my legacy again. And after that, I made the most important decision of my life to go get sober.
And you were how old at this point?
I got sober back in 2017.
So how old were you?
I was 30, what am I now, 46?
I know, I'm like, when were we born? We don't even remember.
I gotta think back. I was 35.
You were 35. So a good 10 years.
Yeah, almost.
Of that. So you said something really interesting right toward the beginning was this was your belief system. Like and I don't remember exactly how you said it. You just said the money and that's what was feeding you. That was part of your belief system of like your value, your worthiness. Is that what you meant?
So no, what I meant was my belief system. My higher power was money. That was my higher source. I was born and raised Catholic, but along the way I completely lost my way. I didn't even know what a relationship with a higher source or God was. I thought it was just saying Our Father, Hail Mary, and asking for forgiveness when necessary. I was spiritually bankrupt at that moment.
And so you detached. You detached from your spirituality, and money became your higher power. Money became the driving force. What was it feeding you? I know, like, we have the drugs, but originally, when you first really got into being successful, what was it feeding you?
I was wearing a mask. I was wearing a mask. I was performing for the world, but I was empty inside.
So it was a false sense of feeling good, a false sense of love that you were like filling holes with.
Yeah, there was definitely holes I was filling that trying to fill that hollow feeling inside.
Yeah.
And trying to replace it with drugs and alcohol to fill it. And I thought that was the answer because I was numb at that point. And my mom passed away. Me and my mom were like this. I mean, she was my best friend, my everything. And my life went dark. I said I'd never stick a needle in my arm. Next thing I know, I'm sticking a needle in my arm.
Yeah, so interesting too. And what I want the listeners and viewers to hear is you were already struggling with outsourcing your happiness, outsourcing and feeling the hole inside of you. So you hadn't quite figured that out yet. And then when your mom passed away, it exacerbated it. Like it sounds like it made it really compounded because you weren't really in the space to handle it.
I didn't know how to handle it. I thought numbing it was the answer. And, through this journey, what I learned also is because when my mom passed, I was on my victim role, my pity pot. I was mad at God. How could you take my mom? She was only 55 years old. Blah, 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 blah. The list goes on and on of the list of dirtiness that I was talking, right? And I was trying to numb the pain. And what I've learned throughout these years was that I wasn't numbing the pain back then. What I was really doing was blocking being able to feel my mom's spirit within me. Because now there's not a day that goes by that I don't feel her spirit. You know what I mean? And I learned that, man, all that time that I thought I was blocking the pain, I was just numbing this feeling of relief, this feeling of spirit, this feeling of wholeness.
Yeah. You didn't have access to it. Like it was blocking your access to feel what you really wanted to feel, which was better.
100%.
Yeah. That's so, and all of us do that. By the way, we do it in our different ways, but we all do that. And I think the journey to joy and what your story is showing us is being able to open up you opened up at one point and you were like, it wasn't just that I feel like that you were giving up, like, okay, I'm done doing drugs, but it's also you were ready to open your heart. You were ready for more, right? You're ready for
Yeah.
whatever your next step or next level was.
I like to call it, I was ready to surrender. I was finally
Yes.
ready to surrender, and because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I
Yeah.
tried doing it my way so many years, so many times, and failed over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I just I realized, man, I can't do this shit on my own.
So, um, so you had that moment. You said you don't even remember. You don't even remember what the kind of what the trigger was to open you up
No,
with your
I
sister.
just we went to some personal development event, and I didn't want to go. I was just like, I don't want to go to no motivation event, no rah rah, none of that bullshit. That was the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
But something inside of me pulled me to go, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but something cracked open, and I remember being in the men's bathroom, and I'm like, shit, I'm gonna tell my sister that I want to go get help. And on that train ride home, back from Jersey to New York, is when I told my sister, I was like, man, uh, I don't want to do this no more. I'm tired of being a shell of who I know I could be. I'm tired of being empty inside. I'm tired of not being authentic. I'm tired of this draining energy.
Yeah. It's like coming back to you. You were ready to find you again. Come back to you. What did,
I was so far gone, Lisa, I didn't remember who me was.
yeah. But you still,
I
I think what's so crazy though and amazing, sorry, I don't need to, but you still had that light inside of you that was still like, let me out. Like, I want to be seen. I want to be loved. I want to be heard. I want to live my life. It was still in you. Like, it didn't come from anywhere outside of you. It
Oh
came
yeah,
from
no,
within you.
without a doubt, it
Yeah.
was in me. But I had to learn to build a new identity. I had to reinvent who I was.
Yes. What was the biggest struggle with that? What was your, um, like, what did you feel the most resistance to in building your new identity?
So it's funny because through the journey of personal development and sobriety, I learned that putting the drugs down was the easy part. I struggled with learning to realize that the drugs and alcohol wasn't the problem. I was the problem. I had to learn to be able to peel the onion back and take stock of who I was. I had to be able to look into the mirror and apologize to myself for the damage that I caused my family, or the self-destruction, or the pain, the agony. I had to be able to learn to look at the man in the mirror and forgive the man that I was looking at. I had to learn forgiveness for myself.
And how did that, like, that experience, not easy. Like, that's peeling the onion back. It's like, was it a painful? For me, it was painful. Painful in a good way, right? You have to go through it to get to the joy on the other side. But to look at yourself and to experience what you haven't been experiencing because you've been masking it with drugs and alcohol, or, for whatever else. Like, we mask it with food, we mask it with other addictions, we mask it with, just repression. But actually looking at it, which is what you're describing, you looked at all the pieces. And how did that feel? Like, what was that experience like?
Mind blowing. I mean, there was pain there. There was moments of crying, and being hurt, but then there was also gratitude because a new chapter was coming, and really having to do that moral inventory is where I started to learn to, you know what, I got to change from within. It's not about changing the outside to the world and what the world sees. Everybody says, oh, Joe gets sober. Yeah, that's great. But what does the person on the inside look like? Because there's people out there who could be sober on the outside, but they're not sober on the inside. And that don't just go for drugs and alcohol. I'm talking about in general, right? You could be this person to the world, but who are you inside? I always say integrity is very important in anything you do in life, in any relationship you build, but the most important relationship that it's most vital for is yourself. Because if you can't be a person of integrity yourself, you can't be a person of integrity to the outside world. You'll never be able to be a true, authentic self if you're not a person of integrity to yourself.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that, because when somebody might listen to this, they're like, well, I don't have a drug and alcohol problem. I don't have I know that, substances aren't great and I shouldn't do them and all those things. And so we sometimes look at stories like yours and then we judge ourselves and we think, oh, that's not the problem that I have. And so you actually don't allow yourself to see what you are missing, because remove the substances, it was a mask. So you said it was a mask for just what you hadn't developed within yourself yet. That self-love that you were really needing to develop for you, that now you can so clearly see. You're like, the integrity that you have in honoring yourself and hearing yourself and loving yourself without regardless, right, of anything around you or anything that's going on. It's beautiful. And everyone needs to be able to experience that, no matter what their challenges, because we all have different challenges. We're not going to have the same ones. The whole point is we all have challenges and we can choose. Like, you made a choice. You made a very specific choice, which is powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a really good point, because it's important for people to realize that many people struggle with vices. Mine was drugs and alcohol. Someone else might be gambling, sex, shopping, overeating. I mean, there's so many vices that we struggle with. And those vices create character defects. They have us lack direction, lose motivation. Some people even lose their self-esteem, right? But you don't have to live like that. There's a better way to live life. And I'm living proof. Because when you find and live in your purpose, that's when the real comeback begins. But it's not an overnight success. I mean, it took me nearly a decade to regain control over the steering wheel in my life. Over the years, I had a lot of coaches, did a lot of personal development programs. Some worked, some didn't, right? But I was able to pull pieces of nuggets from each one and build a powerful system for myself to be able to bounce back. And that's why I do what I do now. You know what I mean? Because I believe that there's a gap out there, right? People don't realize that when you live in purpose, it closes the gap between spirituality and true wealth. And people hear this word spirituality and they start getting spooked out. They start thinking religion. And it's so not true, right? Religion and spirituality are two completely different worlds. Yeah, you know what? There's a higher source involved. And believing something greater than yourself, whether you call it God, the universe, the infinite intelligence, whatever you believe, but believing something greater than yourself to help you unlock your fullest potential is vital for success. But spirituality is also about finding and living and walking in your purpose. I mean, think about it. There's so many people out there. I mean, think about just the famous people alone, right? Who had the world in the palm of their hands. And then something was missing. I mean, Robin Williams, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, Whitney Houston, the list goes on and on. And they had the world in the palm of their hands, but what? Something was missing. And that's just the famous people. What about the average billionaire that jumps off the 52nd floor window? Why? Because something's missing. It's that connection to something greater than themselves that's going to really help them unlock their fullest potential to the fullest. And because we can't do this out here alone. We weren't created by ourselves. Something created us.
Yeah. I don't know that I even have anything to say to that. It was so perfectly said that you're right. It's that surrendering piece, right? And you have to surrender to something greater than you in order to really have that humility that I can't do this by myself at all. And I've got a good friend of mine who has struggled in any sort of faith and believing in any higher power for a good number of years now. And, it was so amazing to watch and hear that when she has a child that's an addict and things got just so hard and we can't control, right? Like, we just seek to control through all these different, through the money, through the way that we feel, through what we're doing. Like it's all seeking to control. And the whole art of surrendering, which I never fully understood, by the way, I experienced that as well. And it really was like, we're not meant to do this by ourselves. And we have a partner. And whatever you call that, and some people, they call it the higher power, and some people, they call it God. You're right. It's different than religion, because religion is the practice and the establishment, I guess, piece of it. Yeah. But you have you, and you have your relationship with your higher power, your God, and that's your partner. You're not here by yourself and doing it alone, because it's not possible. It really isn't. And I think experiences like yours, experiences like mine, and as we continue to share people's experiences, we start to realize we don't have to suffer in silence, and we don't have to trudge through this all by ourselves. And there's help available to us, right? To get us to crack that open, to get us on the right path, to get us where we're meant to be, like who we're meant to become, where we're meant to be, where maybe we hadn't seen before. It's amazing how you explain it and what your experience is. I just love that so much. What is your, so we kind of talked about your, the drug era, I guess I would call it, right? If we're going to Taylor Swift it, we're going to call it the drug era. Okay, so we call it that era. But then you said that you started, I thought it was interesting, you didn't find one great solution. You didn't be like, oh, I just found this one program and then all of a sudden everything was perfect and great. I think peeling back, if I'm hearing right, peeling back the layers of the onion had a lot to do with, I went to this personal development and I learned this thing and I had this coach, and it was like these little nuggets and pieces that you were, I wonder if while you were peeling away the layers of the onion, that you had each new like source or help to help you get to your next level. So it's like you were growing in real time, peeling away a layer of the onion, but also you had a source that was helping you to grow for where you were at that moment. And then as you grow to the next level, you were finding another source. I mean, is that?
Yeah, I mean, so it was about, for me, building a support network is vital. And I remember when I made the decision to go to rehab, and I thought I was tough enough to do it alone. I said, I got this. I don't need nobody to lean on. I'm going to figure it out like I always do. But let me tell you something. Trying to fight demons in the dark by myself, that's a battle I wasn't going to win. I remember waking up in that rehab, staring at the ceiling, feeling like the walls were closing in on me. I didn't want to ask anybody for help. I didn't want to share my story, my shame, my failures, because asking for help, it felt like another loss, another hit to my ego. But the truth, my ego was the very thing keeping me in that vicious cycle. So I took the first healthy risk of my life, and I raised my hand. I walked into those rooms when men called each other out on their bullshit and wouldn't let me hide behind a perfect story. I listened to the dude who had 30 days sober. I listened to the guy who was in and out of rehab 10 years in a row. And I listened to every single story in between. And I borrowed their hope until I could find my own. And that's when I realized my network, it wasn't just support. It was survival. Fast forward, I get out of rehab. I start rebuilding my life. And I started chasing success again. I built my business back up, started stacking wins. And guess what happens? That old voice of the ego came creeping back up. We all know the voice of the ego. We all got one. Yes. And mine was talking about, come on, you got this, homie. You don't need nobody. You done built multi-million-dollar business after multi-million-dollar business. You done raised hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars. You don't need nobody to tell you how to be successful. But I knew better this time. So I took another healthy risk. Stepping into rooms with a bunch of people making 10 times more than I was. Rooms where I wasn't the alpha. Rooms where I had to drop the ego and admit, I don't know everything. I'm here to learn. I didn't just show up for the business strategies. I showed up for the mindset, for the energy, for the stories. I started asking questions that made me sweat. I started having conversations that punch holes in my comfort zone. And Lisa, that's when it hit me. My network is my net worth. not just in dollars, but in direction, in destiny, in discipline. I realized that taking those healthy risks, asking for help, getting uncomfortable, stepping into the unknown, that's what builds real wealth. Wealth of spirit, wealth of mind, wealth of impact. So let me just say to the audience, if you're out there thinking that you could outwork the universe alone, you're already losing, because your next level, it's locked behind a door called community. And the key, that's your willingness to be seen. I'm talking fully seen. And I took that risk, and it turned my pain into power, my story into service, and my network into a launch pad that I never even knew I needed. That's how I went from crawling alone to commanding rooms. That's how I built my true comeback. Because something happens when you let your guard down and allow real support in. You strip away all the noise, all the distractions, and that masks come off. And what you're left with, it's that raw, unfiltered reason that you're here in the first place.
Was that hard to sit with? Just out of curiosity, like when you started to drop the ego, because I think the barrier to entry is ego. I love that you brought that up and you said that, because it is. We stay in a belief that we've got this, we can do it by ourselves, right? We're greater than. But dropping that ego, I think, allows the access. Otherwise, it's that shield, it's that mask that's up, and nothing can penetrate it.
Yeah.
When you drop the ego, though, what did that feel like? Like, could you describe? Because it's a hard thing to do, but I think if we could describe what the experience is like, that might help people to maybe find access to it.
So when you say, what did it feel like? Are you talking about what did it feel like? What did it feel like when I finally did it, or while I was trying to do it? Because those are two different feelings, right?
Yes,
yeah.
yes. No, not when you finally did it, because we know that feels amazing.
Right.
But when you were in the process of dropping that ego,
resistance,
right, letting something penetrate, and the resistance. Yes. What was it like moving through the resistance that you had in your body? Because it's in your body. You feel that.
It was painful. It was. I was dreading it. I was dreading it because my ego. First, my ego is what got me into the vicious cycle. But my ego, in a way, a part of my ego is what got me to my success and to who I was, is what I thought. Right? Because I thought I was the reason I got successful. I thought I'm the man. You know what I mean? I didn't have to ask for help in my Wall Street days. I fucking ran the show. I did what I had to do. I raised the millions of dollars. I didn't want to give the credit to the help that came in with that, like to a team or any of that. I was, in my head, I was the man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And letting go of that ego was like letting go of an old version of myself. Yeah. But I realized that old version of myself couldn't go to where the new version of myself was going. So I had to kill that old self and kill that ego along the way. So it was like killing somebody that I thought I loved.
Yes. Yeah, it's like losing part of you. Like who you thought, yes, it is. It's losing part of you. And there's grief that comes along with that. I feel like there's like, it's like the death of the death of what you thought everything was and how you got to where you were. And then all of a sudden when you let go or you try to, it's almost like you're abandoning a child.
Yeah.
Because that's all of you. It feels like it was all of you, right? Like it made you.
Yep, exactly. It felt like it made me. But I want to also be clear for the audience to understand that ego still shows up. It's not about like, oh, I killed that ego and it's never around no more. What happens is I've learned to tame that ego like a lion in a cage. You have to tame that lion and not allow that lion to come out the cage or the lion's going to destroy you, right? It's the same thing with the ego. You got to learn how to tame your ego, because there's times where my ego still shows up and I got to remind myself and say, oh shit, no, you're not allowed in the driver's seat no more, bro. Yes. You don't live here no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's really important for people to understand that.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful. It seems to me as I learn about people's stories and I kind of watched my own life and my own story, that what got us to where we are, we can still have gratitude for and, appreciate. Like, we were running off of unhealthy patterns of behavior that were serving us for a time, right? Helped us to survive, but they weren't helping us anymore. And when we let go of those patterns, I think that is also part of our ego. It's that, wait a minute, but what got me here worked. So why wouldn't I keep doing what I'm doing? And I felt the same way in business as well. It's like, but wait a minute, I built a $1 million a year business, but what was feeding me was not healthy, right? Yeah. I was not doing it. It doesn't mean the skills. I think this is a really good thing to separate. It doesn't mean you still don't have all those skills that you acquired and that you developed. It just means that you're not driven by the unhealthy push anymore, but you still have the skills. So you're not killing off a part of you that you're grateful for and that you've developed, but yet what was driving it was in the driver's seat, right? Like the ego in the driver's seat that was driving all of your actions and the way you were building a business and what you were doing. We have to start to believe that we can still build a business that we want. You can still make multi-million dollars a year if you want to. You're just going to do it from a healthy place now and not from a place of I have to, or I'm driven by my fear, or I'm driven by, the need for something to satiate something inside of me, which you now don't need. Like you've learned that. So you just get driven by something different, right? Or from a place of joy, from a place of service, which is what you're doing now. Like, well, now I'm going to build a business, but it's going to be from a place of service and love and helping other people, which feels so much greater and is exponentially more fulfilling than the money and what you did before ever was. It's a whole new level.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think it's important for people to realize that, because I'm a big believer in we go through different seasons of our life. And through those seasons of our life, we sometimes might have more than one purpose that's going to come up in our life, right? And a lot of people ask me, man, do you miss working on Wall Street? Do you miss working in the financial industry? And I always say that the financial industry and Wall Street served its purpose at a certain time in my life when it was necessary. And I picked up tools that I would never, ever give back, right? That I will hold on to the rest of my life, like learning how to sell, learning how to build relationships. Those are tools that I take with me in whatever endeavor I do for the rest of my life. Right. And somebody said to me, man, if somebody offered you $50 million, would you give up your sales skills and your relationship building skills, but you never be able to use them again? I said, hell no, because I'll make that 50 million 10 times over with the skills that I have from building relationships and my sales skills, So yes. I say thank you to Wall Street for those days. The same way people say, do I regret getting involved with drugs and alcohol? And honestly, I don't look back at life and regret things, because I say thank you to substance abuse for making me the man that I am today. Thank you to substance abuse for giving me the tools that I have, that I learned how to live by now today. Thank you to substance abuse for giving me this platform when I'm able to give it back now. I mean, so, man, there's so much that you can learn from things that you go through in your past, or from past assignments that you have in your life, and you got to utilize those tools that you learn from each assignment and take it to the next assignment and the next one and the next one. Because guess what? The universe, God, infinite intelligence, you're going to have more than one assignment in your life if you're paying attention to the signs they give you. And man, I'll never forget the sign that I got, right? So after achieving sobriety, I was able to build another multi-million-dollar business in the financial industry. And even though I was crushing it and living this incredible life, something was missing. And God kept nudging at me and pulling at me, telling me that my journey's not complete and that I had more to accomplish in life. And for years after getting sober, I kept asking God, man, how do I give this back to you? I can't give it back to you in a physical form. You don't exist physically. There's not enough thank yous in the world to express the amount of gratitude that I have for you saving my life. Not just the 2 times that I overdosed. What about all those times that I drove home and don't remember how I got home? Or what about those times where I was in a hotel room and I should have ended up dead, but I walked out alive? Those aren't coincidences. And through this journey of personal development and sobriety, I learned the big difference between religion and spirituality. And I learned to build a relationship with my higher source, whether you call it God, universe, whatever fits you best. And I learned that believing something greater than myself to help me unlock my fullest potential is vital for my success. But I also realized that spirituality is about being able to sit with myself and connect with my thoughts and connect with my higher source when he connects with me through different avenues of life and through that still voice. And as I kept asking that question of how do I give it back, God kept telling me, you know that story that you have inside you, the story that I saved your life for? That story don't belong to you. I didn't give it to you so you hold it inside. I give it to you so you go out there and create impact with it. If you hold that story inside, you're just being selfish. I didn't create you to be selfish, did I? And man, Lisa, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And that's when I said, enough's enough. I'm not going to argue with the man upstairs because I'm not going to win that battle. And that's when I decided to build this coaching and speaking platform. And man, let me tell you, there's no drug, no alcohol will ever give me that euphoric feeling that I get when I'm able to empower someone to transform their life. I mean, that's the gift that keeps on giving. That's where I was able to find purpose.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You said an interesting word that I've never actually, I don't think I've heard it in this context before, which was our assignment. You said you have a different assignment in each. I love that word because I think that opens us up and allows us to hold space for the gratitude and the grief or the sorrow or the, wishing that we didn't maybe experience what we did, but we can still have gratitude and hold those things both at the same time. Because you could be like, oh my gosh, I wish this never happened to me. And yes, I learned from it and whatever, but yet that's not what you're saying. You're saying that I found purpose through what I learned and it was my assignment at the time. It helped develop you.
Yeah,
and whether
absolutely.
that was like the way it has to be or it's just the way that it was, we still can find gratitude for the development that you've gained in yourself from the experiences that you've had without having to lament, right, the things that you experienced. And I think that's important because I think if we sit in the man, why did this happen to me? I think that also blocks us. There's also some ego involved in that if we're unhappy with the experience that we had, like it wasn't supposed to happen, like something went wrong.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, I learned there was an assignment I had at the time. It really takes the emotional piece out of it, I feel like, and makes it go, yeah, what was my assignment in that era of my life, right?
Yeah,
Sticking with our Taylor Swift theme, apparently. But we have different
Yeah, no, there's different seasons of our life. In each season, you get different assignments,
Yes, I love
and you
that.
pay attention to what those assignments are, and then you move on to the next. And that's how you grow.
Yeah.
That's how
it
you
is.
grow, because it's easy to lament on the past and sit in your pity pot and your woes and woe is me. I mean, that's so easy to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to do, and that's why you see so many people that do it because they're taking the easy route. The work is where you find, what? How could I learn from what just happened, and how could I grow from here? That's where the work. That's where the magic is.
Yes, it's like instead of what did I lose, it's what have I gained, right? Not what did I lose, because if we focus on the loss of whether it's time or relationship or whatever, health, there could always be something you could focus on. And I think where your focus is directed is what your experience is going to become. So if your focus is on loss and you're walking around an unhappy human being, where is that focus? I would say just right now for the listeners, put yourself in check. What is your focus? Every day, what is your focus? And if your focus is on what could have been, should have been, wish it was different, there's no happy ending to that story. The happy ending is what was my assignment at the time? What did I experience, and how do I help use that for my gain and for the gain of, the greater good and other people. But like, what do I gain from that? Because even the hard things, all the things that you've experienced, that you went through, none of that sounds fun, and I would not sign myself up for any of it. Like, none of that, right? And overcoming addiction, because I've seen it, and it's really, really, it physically takes a hold on you.
Yeah.
It physically takes a hold on you, and
And mentally too.
And mentally, yes, and it really is it's a big, it feels like a really big thing to beat. And so I wouldn't want to sign up for that. But when we look at what we've gained from whatever it is that we've experienced, we're all meant to experience in different ways for our own gain, right? For our, like, the development of what we now can share with other people. You can take what you've experienced and you can bless the lives of other people, which is what you're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And listen, I want to be clear. Like, I'm living proof, because if I could do it, y'all could do it too. I mean, if you saw me 20 fucking years ago, I was overweight, 250 pounds. I was in the worst shape of my life. I was mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually bankrupt. And today, I'm in the best shape of my life at 46 years old. I mean, it's just, and I'm at the best shape of my life, not just physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of it, financially, everything. And man, it's a gift that keeps on giving. So you don't ever have to give up on yourself. And when you're at your lowest, always look up and know that the highest is possible.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. So tell us, so you have a book coming out.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a book.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I have a book. It's I guess like a manuscript, but it's a manuscript of my life, my challenges that I went through, and some golden nuggets in there. I'm pretty much going underneath the hood and giving you the strategies for my comeback and what got me to where I am today.
I love that.
It's called Reforged Your Life.
Thank you. Okay, it's called Reforged Your Life, and you can find it on Amazon.
Yeah, it's called Reforged Your Life, From Addiction to Assignment. And it's going to be on Amazon. It'll be all over. I'm going to start. Me and the team are working on promoting it. We should be releasing it by the end of the year.
That's amazing.
No, we removed the word should. We don't talk shoulds in this world. We're releasing it by the end of the year.
Yes, no shoulds. No, we do or we do not. There's no shoulding. Yes, shoulding is an endless cycle. No, don't should yourself. So, in writing this book, what was that process like for you? Kind of reliving what you've experienced.
So it was emotional, because, I mean, listen, not as far as like my story goes, because I pretty much, I'm vulnerable every day. I mean, on whether I'm giving a keynote, whether I'm coaching, whether I'm on Instagram doing a live, all over social media. So my vulnerability is there. So sharing my story doesn't dig anything up anymore. I mean, there's gratitude behind that. But I think when I started getting into sections where I spoke about my mom, and a little tease here, I ended up writing my mom a letter in the book, and that brought me to like an emotional place. And that was even that. I mean, it was a lot of gratitude there, but it's damn, I miss my mom, physically.
Yeah.
I miss her physical presence, because I mean, she's with me spiritually every day. But yeah, so I think that there was moments in there like that kind of, and then there's, the moments of gratitude, because kind of writing it down on paper and looking at the stuff that I've accomplished and where I'm at now, and now I'm writing a damn book. I mean, who would have thought 10 years ago that, a heroin addict would be writing a book and, having an impact around people's lives.
Yeah. Do you find it easy or hard, or I guess what would be your experience? I don't want to lead the witness, but how do you find it in allowing yourself to feel that joy, the joy that comes, like what you're explaining? You're looking at your story, you have the gratitude. Do you ever feel resistance to feeling the joy, or do you allow that to come in just abundantly?
Well, no, I mean, I think at one point in my life, I definitely did struggle with the resistance of the joy. but I've learned throughout this journey how important it is to celebrate the wins. No matter how small they are, you got to celebrate the wins and allow that joy inside you. It's something that I work with my clients through my coaching program because celebrating those wins is so important, and people forget to celebrate those wins, the small ones, because those small ones, they build the confidence and they create it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the bigger your celebration on those small wins gets, the bigger your confidence gets, and the bigger your confidence gets, the bigger your success gets.
I love that. Do you, on your journey to joy, how important has it been, or I guess what part has listening to yourself? How does that play a part in your journey? Like how in tune, yeah, in listening to what you know is right and what you know is true, and developing, because I think it's a development, like a characteristic that we can develop, which is not allowing the outside world or everything outside of us to dictate or to tell us how we should feel, what we should do, what the next move is. When you start to trust you and develop that trust within yourself, what does that journey look like for you?
Man, intuition is something I hold close to my heart. It's something I speak about in my keynotes because I think it's so important. And, unfortunately, I do think that there's a lot of men out there who struggle with intuition and learning how important it is to lean into that self-conscious and self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe not that they struggle with it, but they don't want to talk about it. And it's so important. And intuition is everything to me. It's that soft, obvious voice in the back of your head that tells you when you should do something, when you shouldn't. It's that guidance from within that gives us an extra push, that guides us towards our purpose. And, perfect example, when I decided to build the coaching and speaking platform and walk away from the financial industry, I mean, that decision didn't come easy. It meant stepping away from the comfort of big checks and boardrooms. It meant trading my power suits for raw vulnerability. It meant putting my scars on the line for the world to judge. You think I wanted to tell the world about the times that I overdosed or the times that I didn't feel like getting out of bed? Hell no. But that's what true surrender is. You see, faith and fear can be looked at very similar. It's something you can't touch, you can't feel, but you know it exists. The difference is fear will lock you into survival mode. Faith creates legacies.
Ooh, that's so
Fear,
good.
fear will build a prison around you. Faith builds empires. So I chose to lean into my faith to overcome my fear, because that's where the real freedom lives. Wow, as my intuition led me in the right direction as usual, right? And it's when you really start to learn to trust that intuition, doors you thought were closed begin swinging open. You start attracting the right people, things just start to fall into place, and you begin to end up at the right place at the right time.
Ooh. The word that came to mind to me when you just said that was expansion. Like when you aren't locked, because when you describe what fear does to you, it keeps you in a box. And I think the more fearful you become, the smaller that box becomes. And you just shrink it and shrink it and shrink it until you just can't handle it anymore, right? You have to try to blow the doors off of it. But when you lean into your knowing and your trusting yourself and your faith, then the expansion just becomes so great. It's almost like it feels so good, that euphoric, you said, it feels euphoric, and something that drugs and alcohol and, no addiction and no anything can actually fulfill. That feeling, that euphoric feeling of expansion that you get to feel when you lean into that and you drop from letting go of your ego, right? Letting that down, you really drop the fear.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's one of the things, and another word that you said too was the shame. You didn't let shame keep you in your fear of sharing. You go out and you share without feeling shame. And I don't know if that ever comes up for you or not, but there's a lot to share that you could feel shame about. A lot of people would. I think that's what keeps people locked in their addiction is shame, because then they don't have access to feeling wonderful, great euphoric feeling of expansion. It's hard to get out of it. It's a cycle.
Shame,
Cycle for sure.
shame could destroy you if you allow it to. 100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the really good nuggets I think for people to take from our conversation today is, I mean, so many. Oh my gosh. But I think that we're all at a different stage in our journey, and no matter where you're at in your stage in the journey, you can identify with one of the stages, I think, that you just explained to us, that you just experienced, right? And no, it doesn't matter. It's not good, bad, and different. Like, no matter what stage you're at, it's just where you are. And now you know that there's another stage coming, or another stage that you can reach for, that is going to really start to open up. And every stage, every assignment starts to open up more, and then it opens up more, and then it opens up more. But it's that journey to joy is what we're on that path to. But I think we can feel it every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, like even in the smallest, even in the assignments that didn't feel really great, there's still an opening of joy that we can be able to find in what we're experiencing, even when it feels hard. And I think that's such a good lesson from what you've just shared today. It's amazing. I'm excited to read your book. So, yeah. So we'll put in the show notes where everybody can find you on your Instagram, your podcast. Right. What is your podcast called? Let the listeners know.
So the podcast is called Reforged Your Life with Joe Rivera.
Perfect.
And it's on Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. You're going to be on the show soon too, so that's going to be awesome.
I am going to be on the show. It'll be awesome. Yeah, we'll flip the script, and I'll tell you my story. Yes,
that's right,
it'll be so awesome.
That's right. So, I also have a gift that I want to give away to your audience, if you're cool with that.
Yes. Love
gifts. I have a gift called the Comeback Code, and you could access it by going to text the word Reforge, REFORGE, to 646-495-9867, and I'll get Lisa all that information so she could drop it in the show notes.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, I love it. Any parting words?
Any parting words, man? Just realize that your comeback is possible in whatever it is you're doing in life. There's no way that your past dictates your future. You utilize that past to catapult you into your future and create the life that you deserve.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for being with us today and sharing your journey to joy.
Thank you for having me. It was a blessing.